Let's talk today about how to slay procrastination. We know that procrastination is killing us when it comes to leading the kind of life we want to live. We know it's putting off what ought to be done today till another time, and it's really believing the lie that we are going to have another time to do it. And so how do we combat that the very best we can? Obviously, we're not going to be perfect. Obviously, we're going to slip into procrastination sometimes and have the temptation to feel totally discouraged, but that's not what this video is about. This video is a video you can come back to time and time again. When you feel like you are putting something off and you know that you just got to get to it, you got to go through it. Let's talk about that today. So hey, my name is Lana. This is Girl Teach Me. This whole channel is to be a help to you, a channel you can throw on when you need some motivation, some encouragement to do the motherhood thing better. I hope you'll stay and hit subscribe. And I say it in almost all of my videos, but I have a free birth class down below if you happen to be pregnant that can help you change your whole entire birth experience after 6 natural births. There are some things I wish I knew from the get-go. I'm here to save you some pain with that, so check out that free link down below. For me, it has been so helpful to see procrastination as my number one enemy. And I have to tell you that I am the perfect person to talk about this, not because I am super disciplined, but because I have struggled and struggled and struggled with procrastination my whole life. And I love my parents, but I just feel like maybe they didn't kick me in the pants quite enough with procrastination, bailed me out. You know, they were just trying to be loving. Like, I have literally fabulous parents, but I'm just saying, like, the kind of stuff where if I didn't study for a test, maybe I got to stay home and, you know, first period and study a little bit more for the test. Or if I didn't do what I ought to do in love, they were trying to bail me out sometimes. And here's what I gotta say is I've had to learn the hard lessons as an adult later on in life. So I think we can help our kids build these skills, but really more is caught than taught. And so if we can tackle procrastination, perhaps we can teach our kids by them watching us and talking through it to tackle procrastination as well. And also, I feel like I do struggle with some ADHD stuff, some executive function stuff that can just make me feel like I can flutter round and round and not actually be getting done what I need to get done. But I do think this is an area we can lean in and grow. I don't think that we have to be held captive by how we've always operated, how we operated as a kid. Like, I think a lot of people are like, well, this is just the way I am. But the truth is, we're always growing in some way, or we're just stagnating and shriveling, right? So if we want to step up, we want to grow, we're going to have to put our hand to the plow and be like, okay, I'm going to set a sail to do a better job with this. And little by little by little, I'm going to see growth. When I think about procrastination too, I think about discipline being the opposite. And so I feel like procrastination says one thing and discipline says another. So procrastination says, I can do this thing tomorrow. Discipline says, I'm going to do it right now. But I think sometimes the task is honestly too big for the moment. And so what has been helpful for me lately is to say, I'm going to do it right now, and I'm going to do a doable portion of it right now, because sometimes I can't do the whole thing. And so for me, what this has looked like specifically for laundry is my laundry is down in the basement. Not a pretty situation down there. I have to, you know, and then I'm also thinking about the baby. I've got 6 kids, so I'm trying to keep the baby safe upstairs. So a doable portion sometimes is taking the baby down there with me, swapping laundry really quick. And if I have a second, folding some laundry and then putting it in a basket, because I don't have all the time in the world to swap it over, fold it, and also put it away in the same moment. But procrastination, when it happens to me with laundry, is like, I don't have time to do all of it, so I'm not going to do any of it. And then it stacks up, and then stuff starts to smell bad and all the stuff down there. And so what's been more helpful for me is like, I'm going to do a doable portion and I'm going to move it forward, move it forward, move it forward. And that actually is way, 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 way better than just saying, because I can't do all of it, I'm going to do none of it. That all or nothing perspective, it can be so toxic in motherhood, because so much of what we do in motherhood does not have edges. It does not have a finish line. It does not have a done checked box. And so if we take the all or none perspective, we're probably going to err on the side of none. And so just having a some perspective instead of an all perspective, like I'm going to get some of it done, a doable portion, is an absolute game changer when it comes to slaying procrastination. The next thing that helps combat procrastination is believing that we have far more control than we even realize. It's so easy to peg the blame on other people, other circumstances. I can't get this done. But when you make your to-do list and you see the things that you need to get done, what can be so helpful is to write out beside the thing the first action, the first small action you can take, because there is a power to choose there. We may not be able to like scratch that whole thing off today, but I can go do a meaningful first action. So back to the laundry, a meaningful first action for me, if I have a ton of backed up laundry, could be just sorting them into piles. Like that's a good meaningful first action. Instead of seeing like one huge pile, I see a couple of small piles. That is moving towards progress. But the opposite, like what procrastination would say, is nobody's helping me with laundry. All these kids just throw their dirty and clean stuff together. Like just feeling kind of like hopeless and kind of mad at the situation, or feeling like I don't have time to get down there and do any of it. It's just all the things. The truth is we are not helpless to laundry. I'm using laundry as an example, but we are not helpless to getting dinner on the table. We are not helpless to moving our bodies. Almost always there's a first meaningful action we can take. So when you take a look at your to-do list, like just looking at it right now today, what is the first meaningful action? So when I have my to-do list, so today, let's just say it's filming this video, it's getting my kids' math and reading done, and it's going to do a workout. So, the first meaningful action could literally just be to like charge my camera battery or set my camera up. The next meaningful action for the reading could be laying the kids' reading and math stuff out. It could be starting with the first kid, even if it's just a 10 to 15 minute session with them. And then as far as the workout, it could be laying out my workout clothes. It could be signing up for that class. And so sometimes when we see the to-do list, writing out the first meaningful small action is a great way to combat procrastination. The next one is super duper practical, but it is literally just setting a timer. If you set a timer on that meaningful action, like, oh, it's the last thing in the world I want to do, but I'm going to give just 10 minutes to it. Generally, it's the lift off that's the hardest. Generally, it's just getting that first movement happening. I know for me right now, one thing I'm procrastinating on is painting a dresser outside. So I think a great first meaningful action is just finding my paint clothes. It could be just grabbing that paint can that I've had ready for like literally 5 months and setting it out by the dresser. It could be just laying out a tarp underneath the dresser. Like usually there's like a couple of small actions that lay underneath a big task that we really don't even want to do. Those are the things that it's like, I want to paint the dresser. I don't want to go find my paint clothes. I don't want to lay the tarp out. All those things. And so giving a 10-minute timer to that thing is such a game changer when it comes to making progress. I cannot tell you. And when we feel that accomplishment of making that first meaningful action, it just does something to us. Like it just gets us out of that procrastination mode, because oftentimes we're doing busy work. Maybe we're doing the dishes because that feels like a good thing, but we know that we ought to be doing homeschool. We know we ought to be doing that other thing that we would promised ourselves that we would do. So sometimes we even procrastinate by doing good things, but they're not the best things. And so when we look at our time and our day, making movement on the best things, it's what's really going to be rewarding at the end of the day. The other thing that's really, really helped me so much with procrastination is time tracking. I have like a little planner and I draw a line down the side. And what's been really great is if I can have the time the night before to kind of write in each 30-minute to hour block what I should be doing during the day. Like if I have a big 3 tomorrow, and the big 3 is like something else I talk about. I'll table that for a second, but I have 3 things I want to get done. I have to look in and like figure out when that's going to happen. Those aren't just going to like magically happen. I've got to kind of figure out through that day where it's going to go. And then on the other side of that line, I write what I actually did during that time. And so I learned about time tracking through my Restoration Home group that I'm in. It's like a homeschool membership It's like one time a year fee or something like that, or you can pay monthly. But it's kind of like group mentorship. And what she talks about with time tracking is it's not so much about squeezing out the most out of every day. It's seeing if our time reflects our priorities. If we say that reading aloud to our kids is one of the most important parts of homeschool, but then we're not prioritizing that, we don't have that in the time tracker. If we don't see that we spent any time doing that, then our priorities are not really reflecting our values. More specifically, my husband and I realized that the Bible is really important to us. The Lord is really important to us. But we kind of looked at our time and we were thinking, okay, but are we sitting down together as a family to read the Bible, to pray? Okay, I don't see that in our time. And we're spending a lot of time over here on something that's not so much a priority or value for us. So how can we reallocate that time? So that's when we started doing family worship in the morning. My husband has a work from home job. He started a couple of years ago so we could have a bit more family time. And we realized that it was a great season to start a morning time because he had a little bit more flexibility in the morning. And so every situation is going to look really different. But when you look at the priorities of your family, one thing that we can kind of see through the lens of procrastination is we're not using our time in a way that's most valuable to us and our priorities. We're possibly spending a lot of time doing what feels like good stuff, but I like to think about it in like good, better, best. Sometimes we're spending a lot of time in the good or the better category, but not in the best. And what's going to be, again, really, really meaningful is like when we're doing the things that are actually big rocks that are in alignment with our values for our family. When we can put those big rocks in first, it helps so very much. But time tracking is a great way to see if I'm actually putting in those big rocks. One thing I heard that was kind of fascinating recently, and it ties in with procrastination, but it kind of just ties in with like being a quote unquote high performer. And we can unpack a lot of that because some of that's just striving and hustle culture. But I heard it said from one of the guys who was on the Shark Tank, I think it was Kevin O'Leary, and he talked about like the 400 plus companies that he has in his portfolio. And he was saying that when he looks at the CEOs that are running the best companies, he noticed a couple of things. And I thought this was so fascinating. He noticed that the CEOs that were running the best companies, they actually really prioritized a couple of disciplines in their personal life, health disciplines that yielded more energy, because sometimes we're procrastinating because we feel like we have no energy. And that's a real thing. Like when we have a new baby, or just even the fact that we're women and we have hormones and we're on this like 30-day, 28-day cycle where there's going to be weeks of just general low energy, and we have to kind of understand our body and understand the season of life that we're in. But these three things he said were these CEOs were really particular about their sleep. Like they did everything they could to get a good night's sleep. They were tracking their sleep through like an Oura ring or a Whoop, and getting good restorative sleep was important to them. And they didn't drink alcohol before bed because that really disrupted your REM sleep. Now, granted, right now I'm sleeping with a baby and sometimes I don't get the best sleep, but I actually get a lot more sleep co-sleeping than I ever do doing like any kind of sleep training. And so for me personally, that's important to me. I like co-sleeping. I think I get more sleep that way. The other thing he said was they really prioritize protein. And I have noticed this. I know that it can be a whole fad in the moment, but the days that I have a lot of carbs, I actually have very little energy. And I learned this from a book called Fat Burn Fix, and it's not a diet book. It just talks about like glucose, and it talked about blood. It talked about whether your body could burn fat or if it's constantly in like a sugar burning cycle. And so really trying to prioritize protein. I keep a list by my cabinet of the top ways to get protein in my diet. And like one thing I know for sure is 3 eggs is 18 grams of protein. If I'm trying to get to around 100 grams of protein a day, like I think that's even kind of like just a baseline, then I know that eating 3 eggs in the morning is going to take me part of the way there. And then if I have a protein smoothie with some protein powder, which is around 22 grams of protein, and then milk, all the things. So that's just an example, but he said like protein was very important to them because it keeps your energy flowing. When we have those huge sugar spikes with big carb loads, it's really going to tank our energy, and then we're not going to feel like doing anything. And that's a real thing when it comes to procrastination. And the third thing he said was they prioritized movement and exercise, because moving our body actually gives us more energy. We might think we don't have enough energy to exercise. It's actually the inverse. Once we get going, we usually get more energy. And so even yesterday, I was like, I've got so much to do, but I've recently started going back to CrossFit. I hadn't been to CrossFit in a couple of years. And for me, I've just lifted weights my whole life. So it's just something personally that is very rewarding for me to feel that weight on me. It's almost like a weighted blanket on me. And so I felt like I did not have time to go to CrossFit, but I didn't feel like I had time to go do that workout. But when I came back, it was just like I had so much more energy and felt so much better. And so sleep, exercise, and then high protein. I know it's just something that everybody says, but maybe it seriously is so basic. Maybe it's just that basic to combating procrastination is feeling better and having more energy. And those are 3 super simple things that we can at least shoot for. I know we can't always control our sleep as a mom, but we can go to bed at a decent hour. We can get off screens, right? We can read a book. We can do what we can, and then the chips are going to fall where they may. Some kid may wake us up. Some kid may get sick. We might have a small baby, but we can do what we can do. We have the power to choose at least a good nighttime routine. We can set ourselves up to succeed, so to speak. But, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I hope you have one good idea that you gathered from this video that will help set you up to bust procrastination. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. I love hearing from you guys. Tell me what helps you bust procrastination down below, and I'll see you again in the next video.
It's so unnecessary dwelling about the past, 'cause I know that God is good, He led me to where I'm at. Sometimes I feel like giving up, you're giving in, but everything happens for a reason. It won't always be blue skies ahead. Sometimes you might need a helping hand, just like iron sharpens iron, making me stronger, calling me higher. When we come together, just like iron sharpens iron, making us stronger, calling us higher. When we're helping each other, we're growing together.